Everybody, it's Tuesday. Welcome to today's Daily Distinction. So glad you are here today. For those of you, several of you who joined us on the webinar this morning, thanks for that. By the way, Charles, I want to say thank you. You let us know about the sound problem. We still haven't figured out what caused it, but we're working on it. But anyway, glad it didn't go throughout the entire webinar today, right? If you missed it, I'll post a replay, but we had a good session this morning on what the biggest challenges are, what the biggest mistakes are, what the biggest problems are in terms of separating yourself from the competition. So that was a terrific time this morning. Thank you for all of you that joined me. Truly appreciate it. If you didn't have a chance, but please know we were talking about the Distinction Summit. The Distinction Summit is coming up. It's how you stand out and earn more. It's October 16th to 18th. Please sign up now. Just go to distinctionsummit.com. You get a chance to sign up there. Also, I'm going to put it down here at the bottom. I checked. We had several hundred listeners this week to Distinction Radio. So if you haven't listened in there, you get a chance to get audio distinction anytime you want it. Listen in your car or listen as you're driving around. You just get it on your smartphone at any time that you want. So that's Distinction Radio, and it's there for you. Hey, Curtis, we're Troutdale, Oregon. Good grief. You've told me before, and for the life of me, can't remember where in Oregon that Troutdale is, but I am glad you were here. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being a part of it. Glad that you were around today. Thanks for everybody else being around. And today we're going to talk about an important topic. For any of us who have customers, this is a really critical aspect. It's about customer friction. Customer friction. And good grief, we all have a story about customer friction. I'll promise you there has been a time, sometime along the way, where you have tried to do business with some place and it has just been a hassle. We're going to talk about what customer friction is. We're going to talk about how you identify it, what you need to do about it. So if you've got a customer, this is an important episode of Daily Distinction for you, because it's going to be about what we're talking about. Hey, Dale, watching from Canada. Great to see you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you being here all the way from the Great White North. Are you getting snow? Dale, I know that the forecasts are kind of bad for some parts of the states here. Denver, I haven't looked yet this morning, but I saw the forecast for Denver. My pal Mark Sanborn was saying they were supposed to get 1.5 feet to 2 feet of snow, which is just crazy. And today, right now in Vegas, it's only 77 degrees, and it is windy beyond belief. I am so glad I'm not on a plane today, because it is windy like you cannot imagine here right now. But we went from 100 plus for so many days in a row and setting heat records to now 77 degrees at noon here. That's bad. Oh, some parts of southern Alberta are getting snow already. Wow. And you're just east of Portland. Hey, Curtis. Well, good. All right. I didn't know. I could not. I think you told me that before where Troutdale was. I couldn't remember it. Hey, glad that Anthony's along this morning as well. Scott, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for having your son here and part of what we do on Daily Distinction. Thank you. So I was thinking about customer friction, because I've had a couple episodes lately, a couple situations, I guess I should say lately, where it has been just a hassle. It's ridiculous. Why should I have to beg anybody to take my money, right? I mean, if you're a customer, why in the world should you have to work to get anybody to take money from you? But we all have a story in one place or another about customer friction. So I read this article by Joe Procopio, I guess is how you pronounce that. He's the chief product officer at Spiffy, and he did a blog post at builtin.com, and it talked about it. So it gave me some ideas to talk about here today about customer friction and what we experience. I'm curious. Hey, Scott, always great to see you. Thank you for being here. I'm curious, when is the last time that you experienced customer friction? Or where is a place that every time you go there, you find it difficult to do business? Is there some place that when I'm talking about customer friction, it makes you think of some place where you've done business or where you do business? If so, leave it in the comments. I'd love to know where are the places that are giving you challenge as you try to do business. So let's define what it is. Customer friction is any step in your experience as a customer, any step that impedes you from buying the product or having success with the product or finding the value in the product that you purchased. I mean, that's the only reason that we buy anything, any product or service, is because we expect we're going to get some value from it. I mean, even if you go to see a movie, you buy the ticket because you expect the value of a couple of hours of entertainment. So regardless of where it is, there are places that you find friction and other places that it seems like it's smooth as silk. So customer friction is any step at it might be on the website. It could be anywhere that you find a challenge in buying it, using it, finding value in it. And Darcy, you've hit on a big one for a lot of folks, right? The BMV. Oh, I forgot a form. You know they've got it in the computer. Why do you have to make another, go back and get the back of the line and do it because you forgot a particular form or something, when you know they've got the form in the computer if they just look it up? Yeah, I know. I mean, it's where policy gets in the way of good sense. Have you seen that? Where policy gets in the way of common sense, it seems like so many times. And we're trying, please just take my money. That's all I'm at. Please, I'm wanting to buy this. And they make it hard. Now, there is a difference between poor customer service and customer friction. All right? I mean, if you're talking to me about the customer experience, customer friction can be a part of that. But there's a difference that I want to point out between poor customer service and customer friction. Customer friction, as we said, is any step in the process where there's a problem. But customer friction is created by flaws in either the design of the product or the design of the purchase and delivery process, right? So there's flaws, maybe in the product design. Have you ever felt like you were unintentionally a beta tester? I mean, it's one thing if you know you're a beta tester. If they say, hey, this is beta version of the software, you want to try it out, help us find the bugs, that's one thing. But when you get the product, the software, and it's got bugs in it because it's version 1.1, I don't want to be their beta tester for something I've had to pay for. That, to me, that's customer friction. So that's a flaw in the product design. A flaw in the purchase process would be there's something on the website that you've got to do 4 clicks to get to where you want, or you can't find what you're looking for, or all of those things that could get involved with a problem with a purchase. You go to the store and it's something is not in the right place, or in the delivery process. I was talking to somebody yesterday that was saying that they paid for 2-day delivery and it's sitting on a dock. They can track the package. They know the package is still in Chicago. So how come they won't refund the delivery, the upsell on the delivery? And the company's claiming, well, that's not our fault. It's the delivery company. Well, but I bought it from you, right? I mean, until I get it in my hands, it's your responsibility, isn't it? Okay, so that's customer friction. Customer service is marked by flaws in execution. With me on the difference there? So in other words, with a customer service problem, it's that everything is structured properly. It's just that the employee that you're dealing with isn't delivering it in the way that it should be, or they're not friendly as they should be, or it's a flaw in execution on the human side, where friction is a flaw in the process side. All right. So why don't more businesses remove this? If we know this is a problem, if it's alienating and upsetting customers, why don't more businesses do what they can to remove the friction? If you're in business, why aren't you doing more to remove friction? And I want to suggest to you, there's a couple things that make it a little more difficult than what it first might seem to us as a customer. Number one is the little changes on the front end often require big changes on the back end. Something that we may think is a little tweak up front really requires a lot in terms of coding and all this kind of stuff. Shelley, my sister who works in our business, was going through this today because she was doing a coupon code, and she had to get it in two different payment forms, one being PayPal and the other being Square, and she had to write code. She couldn't just say, there wasn't just anything to click. Now, for our customers, it seems like just a little thing to be able to enter the code and get a discount. But on our end, it required hours of work to learn what code needed to go in there, and then they had to write the code, then they had to put the code in the process. And so this seemingly little change on the front end required a big change on the back end. And if that's true in our little business, can you imagine what it's like in a business like yours, in a business like Amazon, in a business like Chick-fil-A, right? And to make that happen every step along the way. So this isn't an excuse, but it is kind of a reason why a lot of them don't, because it's just so much to do that they wonder, well, is it worth the expense? Is it worth the effort? Will it keep that many customers? Some businesses convince themselves that the people that are complaining or having problems are the outliers. And that frustrates me to no end. I mean, you've heard me talk on here before about how we felt about calls at the radio or TV stations where I worked, right? I told the story a few days ago about my boss that kept reminding, for every person that complained or that made a request for a song or that had an idea for a story, for every person that took the time and made the effort to make a phone call, even more importantly, sit down and write a letter. I hate to admit how long ago it's been, but that's before the popularity of email. But people that would take the time to do something like that meant that there were scores of people who felt the same way but didn't take the time. So while you might get the letter and say, oh, that's an outlier, or, that person, one person wants to hear that song because they're a fan of that band, but there aren't that many out there. Well, it ignores the fact that there's probably a lot of them out there. So sometimes what we see as outliers aren't, but companies don't want to spend excessively on outliers. So here's the important thing for all of us to remember. Don't wait until you start getting a reputation for poor customer service to solve the friction problems. Too many companies wait too long and they go, oh my gosh, what's happened? We've lost all these customers. And then they jump in and want to fix the problem. And it's closing the gate when the horse is out, right? I mean, it's Pam that watches so frequently is making fun of me for using so many farm references and ag references, but there's an appropriate one, right? You don't close the gate after the horse has run away. The time to close the gate's when the horse is still in the pen. And so that's what a lot of businesses do. We've lost all these customers. Oh my gosh, our business is going down. Let's close the gate. Well, why'd you wait? Don't wait until you start getting a reputation for poor customer service. And I apologize in advance for the language of this next one, but it's what I used in the book Iconic because I couldn't come up with a better phrase. I just not good enough to come up with a better phrase. A great way to approach this is asking customers, what pissed you off about doing business with us? You could say, what upset you, what bothered you, what chapped your cheeks, what ruffled your feathers. The vernacular today, like it or not, is, what pissed you off? What upset you so much that it wasn't just that I was irritated. It's that I really got pissed off about this. And there's something along the way that most of us have done at some point or another that pissed off a customer. And many times, why? In our business anyway, many times they'll come back and go, well, it didn't piss me off, but I wish you would have. And it gives us a great idea of something we could do better. I wrote about that in the book, Iconic. It's part of what's there. Darcy, here's along home. You can see me looking over the top of it here. My daughter tried to get her driver's license. The Vision eye chart machine was malfunctioning at the BMV. So the employee told her she'd failed. She demanded a second or third try and passed the eye test once she learned how to read the chart despite the machine malfunction. Oh, she wasn't going to come back when the BMV was at fault. See, there you go. It's that. See, there is. That's a great example, Darcy, because it's an example both of friction and bad service. The friction is the process wasn't ready for what you do with a customer when a malfunction like that occurs that makes it convenient for the customer. It was a service problem because it was easier for that person to put your daughter off and just say, you're going to have to come back, than it is to deal with an individual in that situation. So, you can have them both. You can have them both. Kevin, that's a great way to put it. Yes. We have exit interviews with employees. Why don't we have exit interviews with customers? You're exactly right. That's a great idea. As a matter of fact, one of the things I've got here is one of the great ways we can find out about customer friction is asking a few of those who didn't buy from us. Now, as I wrote in Iconic, those are tougher conversations. Those are conversations we usually don't seek out. Why? Because, hey, they didn't buy from us. We feel it's like we're back in school and we got rejected by the person we wanted to date, right? I mean, we feel rejected. We often take this personally, and so we don't want to ask it. The other thing is, a lot of times customers don't want to tell us because they don't want to talk to us because they're afraid it's going to turn into a sales call. They don't believe that we're going to do something about their feedback. There is one company that has asked for my feedback literally every time I've used them. And they never respond to the feedback. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not naive enough to think that something that I suggest on a feedback form is naturally going to be adopted just like that by a company. But they don't even send a thanks for sharing that. They don't even send a, based upon your recommendation, we took a look at this and we're going to do it. Or, hey, I would love it if they just say, thank you for your recommendation as a good customer that uses our service frequently. Here's the reason why we won't be proceeding with that. I'd love that, just to know they considered it. But I think they're just asking for feedback because they read somewhere they're supposed to do it. And they don't do anything with the feedback. And then they wonder why I'm not filling out any more feedback forms. So it's critical that we let them know. For example, if you go to somebody that isn't doing business with you anymore, a great way to open the conversation is simply saying, I understand you moved on to a different supplier. Could I impose upon you to ask you, what did we do wrong that we can fix for future customers? We really appreciated your business, and we don't want to make the same mistake with other customers that we obviously made as we were dealing with your account. And then listen. Even if you preface it, this is not a sales call. I am not going to ask you to buy anything. We just don't want to make the same mistake with future customers that we obviously made with you. Would you please help us so people in the future don't have to deal with what you dealt with? Guess what? A lot of times you get a sale because you ask them, but they don't give you input until you tell them it in a sales call. So asking those who didn't buy from you is so important. You've asked that, Kevin, that is a great sign. And yeah, you're exactly right. It's uncomfortable sometimes, isn't it? When you're talking to people who didn't buy from you, it's uncomfortable every time. You're exactly right. Hey, Charles, I mentioned you earlier. I didn't know if you were here or not, but I did mention you earlier. Thank you for letting us know about the audio problem. We still haven't figured out. It got fixed when I came off of that one slide, but I have no idea why it did that when I was on that other screen. So we're trying to check that out. So that was great. I appreciate that. Hey, Weldon, I'll post about a replay coming up, so you'll have a chance to take a look at that if you'd like to. But thank you for thinking of that. I'm glad you're here. Better late than never is absolutely right. Glad that you are here, Carlos. Great to see you. Thank you, and I'm following you with the fires, man. I'm glad that what devastation in your area. Man, Carlos lives in the area of California that he was evacuated, in fact. And I don't know if you saw, but the fires were caused by fireworks used at a gender reveal for a baby. Is that just crazy? Oh my gosh, you're out of your home for a month. Oh man. Please keep us posted. Please let us know how you're doing and what's going on. And man, that is, but the main thing is you're safe, right? When Tammy and I got married and I all of a sudden now have 2 teenage stepsons, one of the things I said is, okay, we're going to have a motto. And the motto is, we can't fix dead, right? I mean, we can fix about anything else. We'll figure out a way to fix it. Doesn't mean there won't be consequences for it, but we can fix it. We can't fix dead. So we have what we always called the 5-year rule. 5 years from now, would it really matter that much? And that's what I think about safety. You know, it is an awful inconvenience right now, but the most important thing is you're safe. That's that trumps everything. So absolutely. So one last thing about this is, as we're talking about this, and that is, and it shocks me how seldom this is done, but take a walk through your purchase process, take a walk through the product usage, and do it as your customer would. One of the things that I've encouraged some of my coaching clients to do is to get a pal to call your office and do it on speakerphone while you listen in. See, if you call your office, my guess is they could probably tell from caller ID that it's you. So they answer promptly, and how you know, and it's the boss. It's the person who signs my paycheck. So they're, you know, or if your boss calls you, you know, I'm not saying it has to be you making the call. Your boss calls you, and you know how to answer that phone. But what happens when a customer calls? What happens when a customer calls at 2 minutes before you close? What happens, right? So the article that I mentioned earlier recommends that you do that. I want to suggest you get somebody else to do it where they don't recognize your voice and they don't know from caller ID, and just listen to how they are treated. A show that I don't like, and I've written before that I don't like the show, is Undercover Boss. The reason I don't like it is because they make these CEOs out to be heroes, because they get on the front lines and they see these things that have happened, and they make it right to these employees, and they check. Well, why the hell didn't they know that before? I mean, to me, I would be embarrassed to be a CEO admitting I don't know what goes on the front lines. Okay, that aside, there was one episode of Undercover Boss where the boss is in disguise at a company that he had founded like 10 years earlier, you know, in his garage. And he's listening to a customer service representative, and the customer service representative is being rude to the customers and turns to the boss and says, these customers are always complaining. Well, what the customer was complaining about was that the product had been broken in shipping. So they received a damaged product. And the response to the customer service representative was, these customers, all they do is complain. Okay, so the CEO is shocked and is going to fix it. Why hadn't the CEO made that call before the TV cameras were there? Why didn't the CEO have a friend, you know, on a mobile phone that they didn't know the caller ID, call and just do a mystery shopper thing? It's something that we should all be doing. Take a walk through your process and the usage of what you do, just as your customer would. Yeah. Yeah. It's the secret shopper approach, Kevin. Yeah. And you should be, that's the other thing is I get it. I mean, in huge organizations, but when small companies farm out the secret shopper thing, why aren't they doing that? Why aren't they doing that? We failed the call test, everything drives me nuts. Yeah. Well, and I get it. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. My stepdad would have said, you're not going to last 5 years. You know, there were a few times we had that conversation too. So the important thing to remember here today is that customer friction, it's any step in the process that impedes your customer, that halts your customer from buying what you're selling, from having success with the product, and finding the value that you are working so hard to deliver. Scott, you like that? Yeah, I shake my head every time I see that too. It just frustrates the heck out of me, that they make a hero of somebody for not knowing what they ought to know about the frontline people anyway. I mean, you got to eat your own cooking. Right? It'd be like owning a restaurant, but never tasting a bite of the dishes that you serve. And there's probably restaurants that do that too. And that's why we have customer friction. So I hope you found this to be a frictionless experience today, watching Daily Distinction. Hey, one last reminder before we're out of here for the day, and that is all you need to do is go to distinctionsummit.com. Join us. We're going to drill really deeply. That's what I love about this. We're going to drill deeply into what it takes for you to stand out and earn more. And when you stand out, you do earn more. You earn more profit. You earn more respect. You earn more sales. You earn more customers. You earn more referrals. That's what happens when you stand out. And we're going to drill deeply into why that's so important at the Distinction Summit. So just go to distinctionsummit.com. Sign up. Would love to have you there. Appreciate you watching today. And I look forward to joining you again tomorrow on another frictionless edition of Daily Distinction. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.